Greg, you are one of the most active French nationals in Romania, which you have spent the last decade heavily investing in in our neck of the woods here in Romania. You had some wins, big and small, some losses, and now your LinkedIn boasts your main focus, Chief Dad Officer. No. So welcome to our venture talk with the full spectrum of your personality, of your activities. And one of the things that not many people know about it's regarding your investment with Telus, and that was also connected with your arrival into Romania. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and would like to understand how foreigners are arriving into a space like Eastern Europe, like Romania, and then they evolve into more things. So let's hear about the start.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for this very kind invitation. My history with Romania goes back to the 90s. I came in Romania from 1991 to 1994 because I was the son of an expat working in PwC, sorry. My father's name is Grégoire Vigroux. He is retired now and he still lives in Romania. So I had this 3 years experience in the beginning of the 90s. It was a different country, it was a different time. I was coming from Paris, arriving there, went back to France. But Romania stayed in my heart, Romania stayed in my mind. So by chance, I had the opportunity to come back to Romania in 2006, long after. I worked for 1 year at the French embassy, and working at the French embassy, even though it was an interesting experience, I figured out that working at the French embassy in Bucharest was not necessarily the type of environment that I was looking for. I was more looking for a business type of environment. My background in terms of education is business school, MBA, so I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. So after 1 year working at the French embassy, I decided to start and launch my first company that you mentioned, that now is named Telus, but it was not named Telus at the beginning. April 2007, we launched a beautiful startup company in Bucharest named Callpoint. And why did we launch a call center company? Well, simply because I'm a very simple guy in business, a very simple guy in business. And together with my business partners back then, we said, okay, what does Romania has to offer? What are the capabilities of Romania? I said, okay, Romanians speak very well foreign languages. This is something that has always been extremely striking to me, still striking to me all the time. At that time, also, to be honest, the labor costs were competitive. So low labor cost, which is not the case anymore, of course, we'll get back to this, plus multilingual capabilities and hardworking people with ethics. What about we launch a multilingual call center? We started with a team of 8 people in the 6th district of Bucharest. Now the team for Callpoint, which is name now is Telus International Europe. We have 5,500 people, so we have 2,500 people in Romania and 3,000 people in Bulgaria. So it's been a very beautiful ride. I'm still involved with the company today, but I exited as a shareholder in 2017. It was a long journey before I exited, right? It took me 10 years from the moment we launched the company till the moment my business partners and we exited. It's a beautiful company. I still serve the company today as a non-executive board member and as an administrator. I still support the company. We do multilingual outsourcing services in 17 languages from here, from Romania. And we hired this year 1,500 team members. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have been doing a bit of PR, lots of communication and marketing, employer branding to try to attract 1,500 new team members for our Telus operations in Romania, including 800 French speakers. Is going to be a hard thing, but so far we have always reached our recruitment objectives. So I have no doubt we will hire 1,500 new team members.
So the exponential or kind of to exponential growth continues also after a company becomes more mature. But this is very important, especially at the start of a company, to see the potential of growth. And this kind of made you to start also the angel investment part. So not only to play on your own home ground and inside the dedicated own company. But you also started doing angel investments locally. And considering that when you started Car Media, our ecosystem was more nascent, more embryonic, how you see it now after so many years and so many stages of development? How do you see it at this moment?
So first of all, my philosophy is to give back to Romania, is to give back to Romanians. Because if I got successful in business, this is thanks to the team I worked with. This is because of the involvement, the capabilities, and the hard work of lots of teams that I had in Romania. So a good way for me to give back, instead of investing my money in other areas, giving back by investing in the startups launched by young entrepreneurs, 20, 25 years old entrepreneurs, is a way for me to give back. And not only money, but spending a little bit of time to support them, using also my connections to make some introductions. So this is something that is really a driver for me. That being said, after a few years being a business angel, I wanted to go back to the wild ride of entrepreneurship. I wanted to go back to the Squid Game of entrepreneurship, because I'm a natural born entrepreneur, and now most of the money that I spend in the business, that I invest in business, is into my own startup companies.
This comes also connected with a larger program and larger activities which, for example, are happening in France, like French Tech. And this initiative is also present here in Romania. Can you share also from this side, like the business development perspective supported by French Tech besides or next to your own?
Yes. So what I do through La French Tech is as a volunteer. La French Tech is an absolutely incredible thing, right? It's heavily supported by the French state, Emmanuel Macron himself heavily supports this initiative, and on top of all the initiative of La French Tech in France, on the French territory, there are 100 chapters of La French Tech all across the world that relies on volunteers, French entrepreneurs like me. I co-founded La French Tech 3 years ago in Romania. I lead this association. We are doing one event every 3 months around topics which are close to our hearts: sustainability, women in leadership roles, etc. So this is something which is really of an event-based association, but also we are supporting the Romanian startups that are willing to expand to France, and the French startups that are willing to expand to Romania. There are companies such as Next. It's a KYC company from France. We supported them. Now they are in Cluj, in Iași with 100 team members. So we have lots of requests from French companies mostly willing to launch in Romania, and a few Romanian startups willing to deploy in France. So we support them.
So it's bi-directional. It's
bilateral, yes, absolutely.
And going further with this and having these experiences in the last 10-15 years, what can you name as being some of your big wins and some of your big losses? Maybe to share to our community a few more points which to take into consideration when they are starting a tech startup and they are looking for their beachhead markets, or they are looking for their scale-up strategies. What have you learned coming from Telus and passing then through several other businesses, one of them being launched recently, but we'll talk also about that.
It's all about timing. My biggest loss happened because it was of timing. My biggest win happened because of timing. Let's start with the loss. And by the way, I have no problem in sharing, and I think it's a very good question you are asking me, because usually I tend to share my successes, but it's important to say that like any entrepreneurs, I have up and downs. This is life. This is the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. I launched a company that on paper was absolutely fantastic, which was a corporate carpooling application. We built a very good app, very, very strong application. The project was to give the possibility to corporate employees to carpool. Big corporations with thousands of employees in the same workplace, offering them the possibility to, through an application, to find to each other midway or because they live in the same neighborhood, so that we can decrease pollution in Bucharest, which is a big problem, and other big cities in the region. And of course, to create bond between the employees, because it's important, corporations like that. The problem is timing. We launched this company and we were ready to launch, but then COVID happened. And of course, with COVID, lockdown happened. So the commitment that we had, especially from one of the largest organizations in Romania, that was willing not only to support us with the project, but also to finance the app, and who owed us half of the money that I spent to build the app, changed their minds. So unfortunately, we didn't do anything. We stopped the project there. I was cautious enough to know that there is also a right time to launch, PR-wise, marketing-wise. So we were acting as a submarine. So no one saw that loss. I mean, few people know, but most people would not know about this loss. The company was Teamway, and because it was still COVID and lockdown for lots of time, the project has been on standby, and now I don't have the time anymore to deal with it because I have also other projects, because timing is important about launching the right moment, but also the time that you dedicate to the business. So that was my biggest loss, this corporate carpooling application, because of timing. Now timing also plays in our favor, in my favor, in the favor of the business partners. And it was the first company that I mentioned, Callpoint, that became Telus. It was a beautiful exit. It's a wonderful company. Telus, which is the Canadian telco company that owns Telus International, which is their BPO division, acquired my company. And I stayed on board, as I said earlier, and I love that company. And Callpoint was the right business, call center, in the right location, Bucharest, in the right time, 2007. And when you have the combination of the right timing, the right business, the right location, as long as you have a very good vision, at least we believe we had a good vision, a very strong team, nothing can stop you. And this is what happened.
And in these highs and lows, how do you see the switch between the entrepreneur mode and the investor mode? We are trying very much into the accelerator program in Techcelerator, in pre-acceleration, acceleration, or post-acceleration, like investment readiness. We try to teach as much towards the post-acceleration part, to teach them to think as investors, because this brings a much more pragmatic mindset, focused on execution, on deliverables. How are you dealing with this together with your partners?
So I love ideation. I love the phase which is the beginning of the. I'm a sprinter, right? And maybe I should go back a little bit in my life, but I did sports study high school. I was in the French team in athletics, and I sprinted. You know, I did 110 meters with hurdles. So I like to start the very beginning of the journey is very important for me, to figure out what we believe
adrenaline part.
Yes, exactly, the adrenaline part, the stress before you launch. I'm not a marathonian. For me, you know, I do not run marathons, and you know, marathons in business is also something that you know, not that I'm getting bored, but you know, I need constantly to be excited by some new businesses. So I like the ideation part. I like the launch phase. I like the scale up phase. But at one point, I might possibly get bored. That's the first thing, and that drives me to be involved in multiple businesses. The other thing is, only by being involved in many businesses, I increase the chances to have one of those businesses to be very, very good. Because still it's a prototype. It's an industry of prototype startups. We know very well that 70 to 90% of tech startups in Europe will die before they reach their 4th or 5th birthday. So my ratio is 20 to 30%. So far, so good. It's still high, but you know. But by only having a multiple investment, we can really make sure that one of them is going to be a shining star.
What is striking about your history is that we see some recurring themes. Your love of food and culture with the publications you've run, love of people, your humanitarian social impact drive. Is this what brought you to build bonapp, or what can you share us extra with how you started the sprint in bonapp, and how, because okay, bonapp is just launched, but it was a sprint to launch it, and now after launching it another sprint starts. How are things happening there?
I believe we entrepreneurs, we have a duty. We have a duty because we are what I consider being an elite. Lots of entrepreneurs tend to be smart people with power, with money, with influence in the media, on social media. It is our duty to take action, to try to make the world a better place. I know it sounds cheesy. I know lots of people do, oh Greg, when you say this, it's cheesy, but I don't care. This is what I think. I think that we have a role to play to build a more meaningful world. I think that profits that we make, they need to come with a purpose. I believe that the growth that we are making needs to come also with trying to give back to the communities in which we work, live and serve. You know, I just can't stay working with companies, having some successes and not give back to the communities in need. So this is what we've been doing. From that point of view, Telus is a wonderful company. For example, we have our own foundation in Romania. We redistribute 100,000 USD every year to local Romanian charities. We do Telus Days of Giving, so we bring some of our team members to renovate, refurbish the orphanages, schools in poor areas, etc. It's normal to do that because at the end of the day, you know, the metric in life for success is not the revenue that you make. Of course, revenue is important. Of course, EBITDA is important because at the end of the day, this is one of the metrics in business. But when my kids ask me, look, daddy, tell me about your job, am I going to tell my 8 years old, 6 years old and 5 years old about what revenue I did last year, what EBITDA I'm going to do this year? No. The values that I want to communicate to my kids, the values that I want them to have needs to be about, you know what, with some of the companies of daddy, we have been supporting kids and their mothers, Ukrainian refugees in Romania, or we've been supporting Hospice Casa Speranței, which is an NGO which is very, very close to my mind. I've been supporting them for many, many years. That is taking care of kids and adults with life-limiting conditions. Many of them have cancer, rare illnesses. I'm happy about this. I'm happy about what I do. And I know that more and more entrepreneurs also tend to see things that way. So it might sound cheesy, but when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm proud of what I'm doing, not only because I have success in business, but equally important, if not more important, we are giving back to the communities in need.
Thank you for this, and I think with what you mentioned in your last proposition, I think it's a great way to close and to remain with this main idea in mind. And I thank you to you for that, and I thank you that through you we are having the opportunity to raise awareness also onto this ESG impact part, which lately starts to become equally important, let's say, next to the other ones. And I hope to see you soon with the successes in bonapp or in other investments, or depends what other ideas and sprints you'll interact in and what it will motivate you, because this is for sure is not the last one.
I'm always looking at the next big thing. First thing I do in the morning, every morning, take a coffee and I spend 30 minutes sharp looking at the newsletters, tech, startup newsletters from France, Germany, UK, USA. When I see 100 ideas, I select 8 to 10. I send those 8 to 10 ideas to my pack. What I call my pack is 15 guys
your tribe
around me, my tribe. Yes, my pack, my tribe, my business family. I said, look guys, have a look to those 8-10 businesses. These guys, they work, they are smarter than I am. Some of them former consultants, very strategic thinking. Say, okay, for 3-4, we are going to run a market research. We are going to do focus groups. We are going to talk to corporations in case those are, for example, or SMEs in case those are B2B solutions. Out of 100 in the end, we keep one and we deploy. What I like about this is that it's very strict. It's non-emotional. There are certain criteria. Impact is one of them, of course. Potential to scale up very fast, another one. Timing, as I said, is very important. We need to be sure that this is the right business in the right time. Not too soon, not too late. And the beauty of it is that when you launch a business that is inspired by another business that is already present in 10, 20 countries that are raised tens, if not hundreds of millions, it means that the startup from which you take the inspiration, the smart inspiration, already went through the markets and has a proven model. And if it's working in so many other countries, and if investors in other countries have so much trust in those businesses from which we take the inspiration, it's very likely that we are going to meet Romanian consumers and then Eastern European consumers. It's very likely that we are going to have no problem to raise money. And it's very likely that we have an exit plan in case we want to exit after 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So this is, because lots of people, I'm very simple again in business, lots of people in business, they are looking for an idea out of the blue. And why not? Sometimes it works, but it's very rare. Something that has never been validated elsewhere. And I always tend to think there are people in the Silicon Valley, startup entrepreneurs, who are much smarter than I am, who have access to much more capital than I am, access to lots of things. All the best ideas in the world in tech startups have already been launched, they failed, or they succeeded, or they are, what the VCs in Silicon Valley call the zombies, not entirely alive, not entirely dead. So we just need to document ourselves. We need to read a lot and always try to look at what's going abroad. And then when you see a nice, beautiful success model in which you believe that brings an impact, because in my case, it's very important. And when we decide to launch and to deploy, we do it in a really much of a scale mode. We need to go very, 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 very fast. And for this, we have teams of mercenaries who are my co-founders. Every time I launch a new company, I'm surround myself with some people of trust, who, by the way, most of the time they are friends of mine, some people I know for some time. And the key is really to build very complementary teams. I am not good at operations. I'm not bright at finance, so I always have a very strong operations guy. I have a guy in the team very strong in finance, and that's it. CCO most of the time is important. My thing is more sales, business development, communications. So we build 8 teams of people with complementary profile. We try to scale as much as possible. And every time I launch a new business, even before I launch a new business, I get in contact with my future competitors. And the beauty of doing this, and usually by contacting them on LinkedIn, they take the call. They say, okay, I'm new kids on the block, let's take bonapp. I'm new kids on the block, I contacted the top 5 food waste application in Europe. Out of the 5 founders of these 5 companies that I contacted, 4 of them replied to me and we had a call the week after. It's good. Competition is not an enemy, competition is friends. Let's embrace competition. We're in the same markets in different geographies, but we are addressing the same solutions. We are offering the same solutions. So let's embrace competition. Let's talk about our challenges. Let's talk about our strengths. We might eventually get married. We might eventually join venture. We might eventually be acquired by you, or we might acquire you. So never see the competition as the enemy, see the competition as a friend with whom you are going to have lots of opportunities. I think this is very important. By discussing with competition, not only you learn stuff, but you can go for it. I'm not planning on doing a 14 months exit in all the new startups that I launched. It happened really it went very fast. We understood that the cost of acquisition of our refurbished smartphones were very high. It was making sense to join the e-commerce group because they were buying much cheaper phones because of the big volumes of annual order that they make. But now what happens, e-commerce group, we sell our phones with Orange in Romania, in Ocean, in Cora, in Carrefour, in Shell.ro, in Evomag. We are very strong. Every month we sell more and more phones. We've just launched Bulgaria, Greece, Hungary from Romania. And we do the repair of the phones here in Bucharest for the entire group. So interesting businesses, always discuss with the competition. They're always going to teach you things. And I am even going to push the logic further, and you are going to be surprised. When we decided to launch bonapp. Bonapp, again, we are not reinventing the wheel. There is a Danish company, I'm not going to say the name, but there is a very big Danish company created 5 years ago. They have 35 million users on the application in 21 countries that buy food that is about to expire at a price between 40 to 80% less expensive, just because the food is going to expire in 1 day, 1 to 6 days. I heard about this company for 5 years. We were ready to launch with my business partners, especially Diego Roy-de-la-Chaise, our CEO. We were ready to launch this project. And what did I do? Of course, I discussed with all my competitors, including the #1 player in Europe. And the team said, okay, Greg, to launch this application, to build bonapp, it's going to take us 1 year. We are going to burn 100,000 euros. I said, guys, there is no way we wait for 1 year. And there is no way we are going to invest 100,000 euros in building an application like this. Plus, we are going to build it. We are going to have bugs at the beginning. I want to launch a product that is super functional, no bugs. What about we buy the application from a competitor? Someone in the team said, there is no way a competitor is going to sell an application to us. I say, why not? We start discussing with all our competitors. I love discussing with competition. Again, connection on LinkedIn, we discuss. And we end up discussing with one of our competitors, which is present in only 2 countries in Europe, and that does not have the ambition to become a European player or even a regional player. They want to stick to their own 2 markets. I tell the guys, okay, guys, we've tested your application. We love your application. We would like to buy the application from you. But how does it work? We buy your application, you keep the proprietary rights of your application, but we are going to have a copycat of your application. And before we buy your application, you are going to rebrand it to the colors of bonapp, logo, colors, etc., visual identity. And we are going to translate it from your language to Romanian. And you know what? In a matter of a few weeks, for a price which is very, very, very low, we acquired the technology, we launched quicker, cheaper, with no bugs.
So no year, no 100,000, much
no
more
bugs.
than less.
So what I'm saying here is that as entrepreneurs, we have a duty to be creative, we have the duty to be imaginative, and we have the duty to take shortcuts. Because timing again is everything, and to fight the timing, you need to be smart and you need to navigate. And you know, sometimes people say, well, but Greg, what are the investors going to say? You didn't even build the app by yourself. But our competitors said, guys, you are so smart. The investors, they like to invest in entrepreneurial teams that take shortcuts.
And the entrepreneur word comes from France.
Exactly.
And it wasn't so long.
It means someone who undertakes something. It's a general term that eventually became applied to the business world.
And it also, in this, it demolishes what it's already existed, because it comes with something totally new by disrupting the social framework which was existing before that.
Disrupting. And just to finish on bonapp, we raised 800,000 euros and we signed the term sheet 1 week before we even launched. What I'm saying here is that out of it was not only a PowerPoint presentation, of course, because the investors, they knew us, they have confidence in the team. We have a very strong team. Again, I'm surrounded by very smart guys. you know what the saying, right? If you're the smartest guy in the room, you are in the wrong room. So I'm always trying to be in the right room by surrounding myself with business partners with complementary profiles and who are very smart guys. We raised 800K 1 week before we launched, which never happened with a Romanian startup. Of course, Romanian startups, we have lots of beautiful Romanian startups that raise much more than 800K, but usually it comes after you have tractions. It comes after you have, users databases and etc. and a name. But it's in our case. So I like to break new records, and we are set to break new records, and to make the Romanian tech startup scene shine even further. I'm not the only one. We are so many Romanian entrepreneurs willing to make this ecosystem shine. Some people do it much better than I do, but I want to play my bit.
Thank you very much, and let's have even more than that. The trend looks good, and let's conquer the tech world from here. Thank you very much, Greg, and let's continue the discussion also with other occasions and catch up on all these topics.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.